Solar Flash Update, March 25th, 2025. The death of the 3D ego. Only the soul will survive the shift. Welcome back to the Michael Denney YouTube channel. Disclosure is coming. Open contact is here. I am proof of that. Please show up for the entire video because we've got a lot of stuff to cover here, so hang on. And also please enjoy the live guided interdimensional meditation that we do every Wednesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't show up for the live stream, you can go to the archived, recorded live stream guided meditations on this channel in the live section. Hello and welcome. All right, so we haven't done a solar flash update in a while, so as you know, the solar flash event is supposed to be where the sun releases a massive amount of energy towards planet Earth, and in most iterations of this concept, it's done instantaneously and the world shifts up to the next level of consciousness. I do believe that we are currently in the solar flash event, and as you know, I've been in constant communication with higher dimensional extraterrestrial beings ever since June of 2022, when I did human initiated contact, which is also known as Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind protocols, or CE5 protocols. Don't know what it is? Look it up. Just Google the letter C, the letter E, the number 5, and the word protocol. I strongly suggest that everybody do it to the best of your ability. It is very necessary. So after doing that, I started having very powerful experiences, mind-bending experiences, where these higher dimensional beings would show me things, take me places in my astral body, all kinds of stuff. And one of the things that happened very early on is that I was shown that the world is going to go through a transformation event, an ascension event. And it wasn't clear to me exactly how that was going to happen. So just after that, I was introduced to the concept of the solar flash event. And that is usually explained as a single instantaneous effect where there's this explosion of light from the sun, comes and hits the earth, and there's an instantaneous awareness shift. I honestly don't know how it's going to end up happening. Maybe there will be a final instantaneous shift. I would love it if there were, but I don't know. I haven't been told that that's the case. In fact, very early on, when I first heard about this, I went and asked the higher dimensional beings. I said, what is this ascension event going to be? Is it going to be a fleet of spaceships that come to planet Earth? And the answer was no. It's going to be a series of solar waves of love. That's a direct quote. A series of solar waves of love that will penetrate through the earth and shift everything up. So it was going to be a process. It wasn't going to be one solar flash. It was going to be a series of solar waves. I believe we have been in that. I believe we are in that. And we are definitely experiencing massive transformation on our planet. And we are now, in March 25th, we are heading for an eclipse scenario, which of course I've been talking about already, where all of the planets, except for a few of them, will be packed together in the sign of Pisces, which you see on here, this Vedic astrological chart. The number 12 is Pisces, and all those letters in there are all the planets except for a couple of them. And that is also going to be highlighted by a solar eclipse. Now, the last time we had anything close to this was in 1962, was in a different house, but that started a process of the elites really got control of the globalist path of world domination. That's when it happened. That's why the Kennedys were taken out, why they were unalived. They were unalived because they were going to reveal what the military-industrial complex had planned, and they were going to try and get rid of the CIA. And of course, they were also a lot of people. This will come out later. And those of you who follow Dr. Stephen Greer's work, look him up, Stephen Greer. Those of you who follow his work know that the real reason that both of the Kennedys were taken out was because they were going to reveal the secret, what people are calling now UFO retrieval program. They were going to reveal that, and so that's why they were taken out. So in 1962, a similar situation happened in the sign of Capricorn. There's a bunch of planets coming together, and there was a solar eclipse, and that started an event which was, as I said, the elites taking over the earth and following more deeply, really following through on their plan to consolidate their global takeover. So these two events are bookending something. So if that last event was the beginning of the real mobilization of the dark force elite in conquering and enslaving the earth, then this eclipse event is going to mark a change in the opposite direction. So it will mean the end of that. It will mean the end of their power over us. So, as I said, I got a bunch of stuff to go through here, so let's go ahead and get started with that. So, only the soul will survive the 5D shift. This is very important. This is very important to understand. The 3D narrative will come crashing down. It has to. Now, I won't lie to you. It's not happening nearly fast enough for me. What happened in June of 2022, almost 3 years ago, I was shown the true nature of the universe, the true nature of myself, the true nature of the earth, the purpose for the earth, the shift of the earth. And so to me, because I had had such a powerful experience, it seemed that it had to happen in a week or two. And I was calling people up and telling them, I'm leaving this planet. Thank you very much. I love you. Of course, people must have thought I had completely lost my mind. I thought I had lost my mind. Well, here it is 3 years later, and I'm still here. So I understand now why things happened to me in such an intense way, so that I would be able to be ready for what is happening now. Because now, even though I do have higher dimensional experiences almost on a daily basis, I'm able to integrate that into my 3D reality a little bit more. So only the soul will survive this shift. That I do know, but I wish it would happen more quickly. But I also understand that the vast majority of the world is not quite ready for this yet, which is one of the reasons it's frustrating for me, why my channel hasn't gone viral. I don't know anybody else that is sharing this information to the level that I am. I mean, I just today went scrolling through YouTube looking for, something, to inspire me. And what I saw was just a bunch of new age, superficial nonsense. And some of it just outright garbage. And people eat it up. It doesn't surprise me that there's a bunch of that going on, but that, people will watch somebody's channel who's talking complete superficial nonsense garbage and co-signing people's fears and ego and narcissism and spiritualizing it, and they get thousands, tens of thousands of views. I don't understand. Well, it's because the world isn't ready for the level of truth and explanation that will come out. And this is where I'm at. Those of you who are doing the work, you know what I'm talking about. So only the soul is going to survive this shift. So either the multiverse is either a spiritual place or it isn't. Okay, so just follow me here with this thinking. Either it is a spiritual reality or it's not. And so if it's just a completely physical world, then everything is arbitrary, and human beings are this weird little fart that, that life on planet Earth is just some weird little fart that happened because, all the things happen. This is what I grew up learning in high school. Well, where did life come from? Well, we don't really know, but just all of the things sort of aligned together, and then, life appeared. And I said, that kind of sounds like religion. Oh, no, it's not religion. It's all science. Well, then how did it happen? Well, we don't know. But that materialistic view, that materialistic reductionist view, which is really just a third dimensional view, that is really, that explanation that, I remember, it came from my high school science teacher. That explanation is really the human experience of the third dimension. We don't feel connected to anything spiritual. Even if you're religious, it's an idea. And you have an emotional agenda, involved with other stuff. But in terms of knowing, I can sit here and say that I know what exists because I've been there. I couldn't have said that any other time in my life. I told you what I believed. I told you what I had learned. I told you what makes sense. And 80-90% of what I taught, as it turns out, was right. My intuition was right. Some of it was quite wrong, but most of it was right. But it wasn't because I knew from personal experience. I knew because I have a good critical thinker on top of my shoulders, and I'm able to think critically, and I was able to do my research into spiritual texts and practices and come to some conclusions, and most of them were right. But now I know because I've experienced it. But if we go from the 3D experience in this third dimensional video game, which is what this is, it is a 3D experiment in consciousness. And it is a deep meditation for the soul. I know it doesn't feel like it, but it is a deep meditation for the soul where all passive experience of the spirit is taken away, and we must find the spirit within. And this is why people, if they go after superficial things, they end up unhappy. And this is why, people who walk around in loincloths and meditate all day are the at least the symbol of the happy person on the inside, because this reality is about finding your soul and living it. And I'm here to tell you that is going to be more and more the case as we head into more of this ascension event that we are experiencing. People will not be able to get away with, living superficially. It just won't work anymore. So if the universe is an arbitrary, so either the multiverse is a spiritual place or it isn't. You have to start with that. You can't be in the middle, which is what most society is. Most society is in the middle. They believe in what we call science, and they also believe in there must be something, I don't know what it is. They're in the middle. It's just a horrible place to be. But the reality is it is either spiritual or it isn't. If you decide that there's nothing spiritual here, then you might as well just stop watching this channel right now. It's a complete waste of your time. You have to understand that is the case. So if the universe is an arbitrary physical anomaly, then nothing matters. What is my high school science teacher basically said that life happened or it didn't. It is a complete arbitrary anomaly of, weird proteins and neutrons and chemicals, and they haphazardly bounced into each other and this thing called life happened, but it doesn't mean anything because the moment that you're dead, you're gone, you don't exist. Everything is physical. There's nothing there. There's no real anything. And if that's true, then that means nothing has any meaning. There's no such thing as morality. I mean, then you're just literally an arbitrary physical experience. You might as well just get everything, doesn't matter if you harm people, unalive people. None of that matters because nothing matters. It's all just physical nothingness. It's just... So that obviously isn't the case because even people who believe that, even so-called agnostics and atheists, believe that there is some morality. You have to treat people in a certain way. You can't waste things. You can't destroy things. The earth has value. You can't have these feelings and at the same time believe that you live in a completely unspiritual physical universe. So I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but we're going to find out later that even though you're agreeing with everything that I say, you're going to find out you're probably not living it. And this is what's causing you pain. So if the universe is arbitrary physical anomaly, then nothing matters. If the universe, however, is spiritual, then it must evolve into a place of love. If the universe is a spiritual place, then it must evolve into a place of love. So what we have now is we are living in an anomaly. We are living in a reality that is going against its own existence, which is a fancy way of saying it's destroying itself. It cannot continue this way. Because the reason why I gave you this assumption, which is either the universe is spiritual or it isn't, you have to pick one. And then if it is spiritual, then it must evolve into a place of love, meaning you feel loved, you love others, you feel connected to all matter, that all physical matter is conscious, that the sun, the sky, the stars, the animals, the rocks, the trees, the clouds, all of these things are conscious and filled with love, and that all beings at their essence are spiritual in nature and are beautiful and lovable and valuable. That's what that means. If it is a spiritual place, that's what that has to mean. That's why religion is a waste of time, because religion tells you you're a worthless piece of crap. So that doesn't make any sense. You're going to tell me that the divine spirit of love then turns around and says, you're going to go to hell because I don't like the way that there's something imperfect about you? Doesn't make any sense. That reality can't maintain itself. It can't. You can't be at odds with yourself like that and survive. You can't be in that conflict, that state of conflict, which, by the way, all disease is nothing more than an internal state of conflict. So you have to, and the only way to remedy the conflict is to decide which direction to go. That's it. It's that simple. You want to know how to heal? Figure out which direction you should go, and you will heal. I know that's a very simplistic way of looking at it. And, I've gone into depth talking about it in my books, especially the Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life, which is also a book of healing. If you read that and apply it to healing, it will have the same effect. Go here to michaeldenney.org to find out how to find my books. And by the way, if you're watching my channel, you're a regular watcher of my channel, you comment regularly, you come to the meditations, and you have not read my books, it's time to start getting this information. I've spent my whole life putting all this information together. And, if this channel is important to you, then devour the information. All right. Let's keep going. So if the universe is spiritual, then it must evolve into a place of love. Assuming spiritual reality, as the 5D shift continues, materialism will be deleted. So we are in, as I said, an anomalous reality where people have some sense that there's spirituality. Even if they're agnostic or atheist, they believe in morality. They believe in the value of society. They believe in the value of the human mind. They believe in the value of the earth and of nature. So, and at the same time, we live in a society that is completely run on enslaving and devaluing the human population. Again, I've said it before. This is what the whole idea of like a credit report. People say we shouldn't have that kind of, credit report system that they have in China. Well, the social credit score that they have in China, we can't have that. Well, we have that. It's called a credit score. If you don't have a good enough credit score, you can't get a loan, you can't get a job, you can't buy a house, you can't rent a house. I know. I spent the last 4 years gallivanting around the world, and I was living off of my credit cards, and so I had to dump my credit cards and get them, make deals and get them paid off. So my credit is shot, and I was lucky enough to find this house, and the only reason I was able to rent it was because it wasn't being rented by a rental company. It was being rented by an actual owner, and I was able to make a personal connection, and he rented me the house. But if it weren't for that, I don't know where I'd be. And so the credit score is absolutely a social credit score. And what is credit? It is nothing. What is money? Money doesn't exist. It is an idea. And it only has value if we both agree that it has value, which means it doesn't exist. It doesn't physically exist. So we live in a world where we are enslaved and controlled, and people will off themselves because of the lack of money, or because something happens on Wall Street. People will off themselves over an idea, because they don't have enough of a non-existent intellectual concept called money or credit or stocks or who knows what. So we can't continue. When my point is that this version of reality cannot continue because it is at odds with itself. It cannot continue to exist in the way that it is. So, assuming a spiritual reality, as the 5D shift continues, materialism will be deleted. So this is now the conflict. So we live in this multiverse that operates on truth. The truth is that all conscious life has value, all conscious beings are connected, and all conscious beings are God. Period. End of story. And every society outside of Earth knows that. Those of you that believe in false beings of light and reptilian overlords and all of that, that is a projection of the third dimensional experience. That's true here in the third dimension. There are evil people, there are narcissistic people, there are predators, there are lower dimensional beings that are very hostile and aggressive and violent and predatory. That exists here in the third dimension. You go above the third dimension, none of that exists. The only thing that exists above the third dimension is love, empathy, cooperation, understanding, telepathic communication. That's the only thing that exists above the third dimension. So until we get there, a lot of people aren't going to know that. So the reality is that the world that we think exists and the world that we've been told exists, whether it's through religion or whether it's through David Icke or whether it's through even Gnosticism, where there's this evil thing that's more powerful than you, like the devil or, reptilians or, pick it. False beings. Did I ever say false beings of light? So if that exists, and they are evil and predatory in a higher dimension, then the entire multiverse will be deleted. Because you sit here with consciousness and you can feel that you have value, that you deserve to exist and you deserve to be loved. That is a fundamental truth, and you know that. But you see other beings and entities and civilizations not acting that way, and that creates a conflict. That conflict has to be eventually resolved. We are in the state where this conflict is being resolved. It has to, otherwise nothing would be able to exist. So right now, those who choose to focus on the soul and move away from 3D will prosper. What do I mean by 3D? I don't necessarily mean the third dimensional. Again, I don't want to get into what dimensions are. I just saw a video and somebody said five signs that you are already in 5D. Well, if they're talking about the fifth dimension is a spatial term. And unless you can do more than move up, down, left, right, backwards and forwards and live in linear time, if you can do something outside of that, then you can say you're in the fifth dimension. But if you're sitting here listening to me, you're in the third dimension physically. If you mean 5D, meaning a higher frequency, that's something else. How did I get off on that? So as the 5D shift continues, materialism, right now, those who choose to focus on the soul and move away from 3D will prosper. 3D meaning right now the third dimensional narrative, which is illogical and cannot survive. The 3D narrative that says that you have no value unless you have money, wealth, power, fame, unless you have those things, unless society deems you valuable, you don't have any value. And this is the truth. You are treated like an object. You are treated like an object unless you have money. And again, the only people who are allowed to have money are people who sign up to the narrative which says that this is just a materialistic universe. The soul doesn't have any real meaning. There's no real value to consciousness or people. You are just simply tools, and you must, this is why we hate communism. Communism says that the individual doesn't exist. It's only the collective. I just realized that. A lot of people who do things like do channeling, they'll channel for the collective. I just realized that. That's why it bothers me so much. Because my experience with light beings is that light beings do not communicate to the collective. Why? Because when you talk to the collective, it means that the individual has no value. Light beings talk directly to the individual. And you're having a connection to a light being because they will start telling you about your inherent spiritual value. If you're talking to a being that's giving you a proclamation about the world, the collective, right now, humanity, we in the Arcturian Council want you to know, human beings, they don't talk like that. Because to do that minimizes you and takes away your individuality. They talk directly to individuals because that is where the value is. Each individual is unique and each individual is God. And what we're taught is we have value based on what group we're connected to. This is what politics is all about. You know, you have to make your group happy. And right now we have things like banks. Think about it. Banks have more power than any government. There's no government on the planet that can just say, you know what? We're going to work differently and we're going to stop using this money thing. And we have resources and we have farms and we have factories and we're just going to make the stuff that we need and we're going to go off something completely different. We're not going to use money. There is no country in the world that can do that. Which means that countries don't exist. The only thing that exists is the banking cartels. They have more power than any government in the world. Because they have what? This concept called money. How do you know that they have that? Well, because it's in their computers. There are these ones and zeros. There are programs that say they have X amount of money. It's all made up nonsense. We're living in a third dimensional construct. Even within the 3D, we're living in a false construct that gives value to people based on the banks decide how much money you have and how much money you don't have, how much worth you have. That has to end. That's just the logical conclusion. Energy has to get rid of that. So those who focus on the soul and move away from 3D will prosper. Those who focus on the fact that their soul is God and their soul is the most important, valuable thing in the universe, and where that soul wants to go is the only thing that matters. When you understand that, you will prosper. What's going to happen is spiritual people are going to begin to prosper more and more and more. And people who focus on the need to have money and power, which means that on an unconscious level, they believe they have no value in and of themselves, and they have to have external things like money and fame and acceptance in order to exist. Their unconscious message to themselves is that they don't have any worth unless they can show that they have, the money. Show me the money. So that has to end. That's just the way it is. Now we're in a transition period, which means it's very challenging. Very challenging to do that. And it is so much easier to just relax and let the belief, the narrative take over. Listen, I deal with it every day. I deal with it every day. And I guess I could be grateful for it. I live from month to month. I do not know from one month to the next, how I'm going to function and survive. I'm going to be able to make it through this month. That's all I know. I'll be able to pay my rent coming up, and that's it. I don't have anything, beyond that. If something were to happen, God's forbid, I'd be in big trouble. So I understand the feeling of if I just had more money, everything would be okay. I totally get that. If I just had, my feeling is if only my channel went viral, then everything would be okay, which is people's approval. So I suffer from the same things everybody else. I'm talking to myself as much as I am to you, but these are the incontrovertible facts for just talking about how energy works. And this will become evident very soon. So if the universe is spiritual, those who seek materialism will suffer faster and more intensely. So if those who focus on the soul, which is what does my soul want? What does my soul value? That is where I'm going to live. Now, let me make something clear. You cannot compromise with your soul anymore. You cannot compromise with your soul. You cannot be someone who says, no, I believe in the soul, but I still would like to, make $1 billion on Bitcoin if I can do that. If I can do both, you can't compromise like that anymore. It doesn't work like that anymore. I'm not saying that you have to be poor. I'm not saying that. Because my experience is that if you follow your soul, the universe always provides you with all of the resources that you need. If you need $1 billion for whatever reason, if you honestly truly need that for your soul purpose, you will be provided with that. I'm literally provided with everything I need, and then just a tiny bit more. But it doesn't, there's no difference between the life that I'm living now and the life that I would live if I had, $300,000 in my bank account. I would be living exactly the way I am now. I would be doing exactly what I'm doing now. Nothing would change. So the fact that I just barely go from month to month, I'm not living any differently. So that means if I honestly accept what I'm saying, which is that if I follow my soul, I get all of my resources met. There's literally no difference between me and the guy who makes 5 times, 10 times as much as I do. There's no difference. In terms of my physical experience, there's no difference. But we won't be able to compromise anymore. When in my book, The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life, and when I work with people, helping them to find their true path, their true career, and I explain this to them, I help them. I'm always able to help people find their soul desire. Sometimes it'll take up to an hour. But if you give me 60 minutes, I can help everybody find their soul desire. So far, I've been able to do it every single time. Now, whether or not they choose to follow through with it is something else. But in the beginning, as I'm working with them to help them find that, almost all of them will start off in this compromised state where they will want to play around with their soul desire while they are seeking the materialist security of money and acceptance from society. And they want to live a compromised life. I mean, there's no shortage of people that want me to tell them that they can go and work on Wall Street and do their soul desire as a hobby on the side. That's what everybody wants to be told, because people feel safe because we're told that. If you don't have money, if you don't have a 401k, if you don't have this, then you're not safe. And we want to be safe. So we go after that. But then we have this thing we want to do and be fulfilled. Well, we can do that on the weekend. I make enough money during the week, then I can go do it on the weekend. And I'm here to tell you it never happens. It never works out that way. Never. That's why there are billionaires who have, cancer and brain tumors, and all the money in the world doesn't keep them from dying of horrific diseases. And then you have people in other parts of the world that don't have anything, but they live in the moment and they live based on what gives them joy, and they're happy and healthy and they have zero health problems. It's now going to get to the point where the whole society will be incapable of living in that compromised state. It won't happen. I call it compromised land. You're either living in your perfect fantasy world and chasing after that, or you're living in 3D workaday world. Those are the only two places, but people try and create what I call compromise land, where they tell themselves, yeah, no, I'm going to go work at Wall Street during the week, or I'm going to do day trading during the week, but on the weekend now I have money to go off and play. And that's what they want. But the message underneath that is still, my soul doesn't have any meaning. The only thing that has meaning is if I have, value to the collective. If I have value to the collective, then I feel safe. And that's called compromise land. Compromise land doesn't exist. And it will be harder and harder and harder for people to try and live there. And it will eventually become impossible. We are in a liminal space where neither the soul or materialism brings fulfillment. Now, if you're experiencing this, I'm right there with you. I have been and I have seen and I have experienced dimensions, versions of reality that are so unbelievably powerful and beautiful, and it makes it very hard to stay here when you've been there. Because I wake up back in my 3D world and it's just so empty compared to that, and it's so hard to stay here. And so this is something that's happening to a lot of people, that people are living for their soul and they're finding they're not getting feeling any benefit from it. They're not feeling any fulfillment. And then they try and go back into the 3D world and get fulfillment there, and they can't get fulfillment there either. So we're living in this liminal space, and I know those of you who are doing these practices, you know what I'm talking about. I can think of just, a handful of people right off the top of my head right now who say, it's so beautiful on that other side when we do the interdimensional meditation, and I just don't want to be here anymore. There's just nothing for me here. I can't get any pleasure out of this world anymore. Well, that's happening for a reason. It's a very painful process. I'm going through it as well. But it is a necessary process, because in order for us to shift, we have to have no attachment to this place anymore. But the more that you're attached to the materialism, to the narrative, the need to be accepted and loved by the banks and the world and the whatever, the more that you have that, the less ability you're going to have to leave this reality and go to the next one. Humans must choose to create the future 5D world and then walk into it. So in other words, this is why creating your perfect 5D world is essential. Because when we go into interdimensional meditation and we create our perfect reality, it's actually being constructed. But we haven't got there yet. We come back into our 3D bodies. It's as if this isn't exactly how it works, but it's a good enough analogy. Time goes, from past to future, and there's a future point where we will enter into 5D, and we're back here. But while we're here, we can leave our 3D body, go to the future, create our perfect world, and then when we come out of meditation, we'll be back into this part. But eventually, this is going to get there. But we have to build this first. We can't get there if we don't build it. And so there's a lag time. When you do meditation and you intend your reality, you're creating it, there's a lag time between that and manifestation. This is why I know I've been there. And so I want to go back. But the reality is that now that I'm back here in 3D space-time, there's going to be a lag time between here and there. So, humans must choose to create the future 5D world and then walk into it. All right, so I'm going to give you a 4-step process, because before we get into that, let me preach at you a little bit. Again, I was looking through, I was trying to see if there are other people on YouTube talking about 5D shift, New Earth, and all that. And of course, there's plenty of videos, but it's all nonsense. I can think of maybe 1 or 2 people that are speaking something relatively true. The rest of it is just pablum. It's showboating. It's virtue signaling, and it's nonsense. Some of it is just complete, total, utter nonsense, but people eat it up. The reason why they eat it up is because it doesn't cost them anything to accept the ideas, to be told. For instance, there's new takes on the law of attraction, which is an inaccurate understanding of how to manifest. Because the law of attraction says if you emotionally think about something and you get emotionally connected to it, and people use this for money. So imagine yourself having a lot of money and really enjoying that money. Well, that emotion creates a vibration which goes out into the universe, and then money, which is a vibration, will magnetically be pulled back to you. Nonsense. It's not that they've got part of it, that, connecting to something that you truly love and meditating on it. It doesn't attract it to you. It creates it. But then to step into that reality you've created only happens when you take actions. And the actions will be challenging. You can sit in meditation and get all googly as much as you want. But then when you're back in 3D, you're going to have to act on that. And I guarantee you, when you do, almost all the time, it's going to be very challenging and frightening. And this is where that's why people want the nonsense, because they don't want to actually have to take action towards something. It looks like my head got cut off. That's the sunlight coming in. People don't want to actually take actions. They just want to feel something and then have it come to them. But the third dimension doesn't work like that. You have to take actions. So we've got a 4-step action plan. The first one is to connect with higher dimensional energies, interdimensional meditation, lightning qigong, maoshan. All of that is here, thunderwizard.com. Again, those of you who watch the channel, and all you do is watch the channel, you think by listening to me you're learning something. All I'm doing is I'm addressing your mindset to hopefully prepare you to take the actions to get what you want. But you must take the actions. Look at that. That is so weird. You have to take the actions. If you don't take the actions, nothing will happen. No amount of going and listening to, so-and-so, whatever, spiritual so-and-so, master so-and-so, and talking about, align your frequency and just focus on love and happy things. They talk like that. It makes you go, okay, I'll be okay. I'm just going to focus on happy things as you go off to, work on Wall Street. Nothing's going to change. It is a fact. It is a physical fact that the brain changes. Chemistry in the brain changes when you take actions, when you take repeated actions over and over again. Especially if you take repeated actions that are directly opposite of what your instincts and your impulses are telling you to do. When you take actions that are opposite from your impulses, your brain chemistry changes. That light is bugging me. There, that fixed that. So connect with higher dimensional energies, do the interdimensional meditations, the lightning, qigong, the maoshan. If you're watching my channel and you don't know what I'm talking about, you're getting almost nothing from the channel. Go do the interdimensional meditations. That's free. You can do that twice a week. That is a good start. But then you take control over your energy system, and you go and you do the Lightning Qigong. Go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. And it's all on video. You just press play and you follow my instructions. You can do the Mao Shan practices, which are also part of that. If you subscribe to that, you'll get access to a ton more meditations and practices in there. Go and do that. Those of you who've only been watching the channel, there's no more time left. You can't screw around. You have to take action, and I have a plan of action that works. Other than the people just sit there and talk at you. I actually have a plan of action that works. So number 2 is to discover your soul desire. And you can do that by going to career.thunderwizard.com. You can also go here and find the link for my books and get my book, The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. If you really want to master that, get both of them. Get the book and go and get the video course at career.thunderwizard.com. They're the second pink one there. That will, I tell you step by step exactly how to get what you want. If you want a session with me, because I can figure it out if you work with me personally, go to career.thunderwizard.com and scroll all the way to the bottom. And then you can purchase a session. I mean, people don't pay attention. It drives me crazy. People will say, how can I get a session with you to find out my soul desire? I will tell them, go to career.thunderwizard.com, be sure to scroll all the way to the bottom and then purchase a session. And what they do is they just go there and then they buy the video version. They say, wait, I got the wrong one. It's like, well, go read your email. I told you exactly what to do. So if you get a session with me, I will be able to help you figure that out. But you don't want to have a session with me, you can get the book and get the video course, and it'll teach you exactly how to determine what your soul desire is. There are people who don't even know what their soul wants them to do. People say this all the time. I just wish I knew what God's will for me was. I just wish I knew what my destiny was. You don't have to wish it. It's already there. The question is, do you have the ability to communicate directly to your soul? Some people are so stuck in their heads, and for whatever reasons, they've been so damaged by this reality that they have difficulty. I understand that. You get a session with me, I guarantee you before the session is over, we'll know. Number 3, take ruthless action towards your soul desire, no matter the personal cost. So again, when you may have an epiphany, when you realize what your soul desire is, you will be filled with joy and bliss, and then will come the time that you have to actually do something about it. And then you'll talk yourself out of it. This happens more often than I would like to accept. People that I work with, they know exactly what they want. They know what to do, which is the hardest part, to know what you want and know what to do to get it. But when it comes down to actually taking action and going and get it, they talk themselves out of it. And it's always the same. We only have 2 choices in this life. I mean, we can boil it down to a very simple thing. Life is about 2 things. You are either going towards your soul and taking action on that, regardless of what your family thinks, what your spouse thinks, what society thinks, what religion thinks, what government thinks. You are going towards your soul regardless of what anything or anybody else wants for you or thinks or whatever. Or you are working to get love, acceptance, and approval from outside of you. Getting money so that you'll be a good person. Getting fame. I mean, look at whatever her name is. I forget her name. The Snow White, collapse. Go and look at the latest video. I know her name. I'm not going to say it, but she's out there. It's clear that her whole value system about her having value is based on how many people show up to watch a movie she was in. And if theaters aren't packed with people coming to watch her act in a movie, then she doesn't have any value. That's very sad. That's very sad. That is somebody seeking to gain acceptance and love from the narrative. It means on an unconscious level, that young woman does not believe she has value in and of herself. She only has value if people come and watch her in movies. It's very sad. So you're either doing one thing. You're doing one of two things. The rest are just details. You're either going after what your soul wants and you're taking the actions regardless of how difficult it is, or you're doing the easy thing and you're trying to get love and approval and money and fame and acceptance and a feeling of safety from something outside of you, which means that you are co-signing the belief that you don't have value in and of yourself. Because if you have value in and of yourself and you fulfill what your soul wants, the universe must provide you with all of your resources. It must do it. That's didn't come from any book. That's just logical, rational thinking. Because if it didn't, the universe would stop existing. And the universe isn't going to do that. So this conflict we have in the 3D has to end. The conflict where we devalue ourselves and think that our value comes from what we gain from outside. Money, approval, sex, fame, fortune, control, power. All those things are external. And that's the only way that you get any value. Or you already have value, but in order to fulfill your purpose here, you must express that. You must act on it. You must create it by acting on it. And if you do that, then there's literally nothing you have to worry about. Not disease, not resources, not happiness, not love. All those things will be provided for you because you are choosing to be God. When you realize your soul is God and you take actions to fulfill what God wants, your soul, when you do that, you are saying that you have value. When you do that, there is no conflict within you, and you will be healthy. That doesn't mean you won't have intense emotions. It doesn't mean you won't get depressed or frustrated or angry or resentful or, confused. You'll have all those human emotions. Those don't go away. That's another lie you've been told by both religion and New Age nonsense. You're still going to have human issues, but the only thing you have to worry about is, am I taking action towards my soul today? And if you can say yes to that, then you can relax. Everything will be taken care of. You might have some uncomfortable feelings, but that's because you live in a third dimensional reality. But all of that is shifting. And number 4 is to reintegrate your higher dimensional self into your 3D avatar. Now, this is something you can only do if you're doing interdimensional meditation. Because unless you can connect with your higher dimensional self, you won't be able to know. Like, you've watched my videos. If you're new to the channel, it's crazy stuff. But I've come to find out, not because of anything that happened in my life. I didn't remember this. I've never dreamt about this. I've never fantasized about this. None of this. I was shown this and told this as a result of my interdimensional connection to higher dimensional beings who showed me who I've been over millions and billions of years. And among that, I was the ruler of Atlantis during Atlantis's fall. When Atlantis, the flood that got rid of the worldwide higher civilization, I was there when that happened, and I had a part in all of that. And I would have never expected that. So now I am reintegrating that whole karmic, because I still have to pay the karma of that. And this is why I'm doing these live guided meditations. I don't do this for any other reason other than I'm fixing the karma that I created 13,000 years ago. That's why no matter what happens to this channel, I will always lead those meditations. So you find out who you are. You have a role, a very important role in this upcoming 5D reality, but you have to be awakened to that higher dimensional identity, and then you have to go through the process of reintegrating that. Watch the Apple series that's on called Severance. It talks about that, not in the same way, but it's very similar. The reintegration process that one of the characters goes through is what has to happen, but you have to do it successfully to be able to reintegrate your higher dimensional self. Now, you can't do that. You can't do that if you're not doing at least, 2 or 3 of these 4-step things. You won't be able to do it if you're not connecting to higher dimensional energies. You definitely won't be able to do it if you're running away from your soul desire. If you're not taking ruthless action towards living your soul desire, you won't be able to reintegrate those things. So unfortunately, now is time. We got to become spiritual warriors. We got to go towards our soul ruthlessly, no matter what the personal, psychological, financial cost is. We have to do it. But the good news is that it is my strong belief that very soon, perhaps even tomorrow or the next day, but certainly within the coming years, the people who do that work are going to be the people who will have all the power and the influence in this coming 5D world. And the people who've been running the banks and been doing, the stock market and, all that garbage, people who've been running the lie or been chasing after the lie or have been allowing themselves to be corrupted just so that they can feel safe and have money. Those people are going to be at the bottom, trying to figure out who the hell they are and what do I do and how do I function. Because one day, this whole money thing is going to go away. All right. So I still have my challenge. I gave a challenge out recently. I want 20 of you. Those of you who are watching the channel but you're not doing anything. Those of you who used to subscribe to the thunderwizard.com website but you stopped doing it. I'm challenging everybody who's just watching the videos and not doing anything else. I'm looking for originally 20 people to sign up here at thunderwizard.com at the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong or above. Some people have responded, so I've now brought that down to 15. I'm looking for 15 of you who will subscribe. Go to thunderwizard.com, subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong or above. If you've already done the Lightning Qigong, there's other things you haven't. You haven't worked with me personally as an apprentice. You haven't gone to the live Zoom classes. You haven't looked at some of the other things. You haven't gone to the shop and got the Mao Shan stuff. You haven't done the interdimensional personal meditations that are there in the shop. So have you bought everything in the shop? I doubt it. Have you done every single possible way that you can subscribe and work with me? I doubt it. So I'm challenging you. I need 15 more of you to do it. That's so that I can continue to do this work and spend all my time completely focused on helping everybody on planet Earth shift up. If you like this YouTube channel, I challenge you to prove it. Take some actions. Go to thunderwizard.com, subscribe at the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong or above. That's it, my friends. I love you all. Please take very good care of yourselves. You can go here to michaeldenney.org to find out more stuff and more resources and books and etc. etc. So, all right. So until next time, please be very good to yourselves. I love you all. Thank you so much. And I'll see you once again every Wednesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern for the live guided interdimensional meditation. Please be very good to yourselves. I shall see you very soon.